Stay tuned for Truckers Life Radio, coming up next on tncradio.live.
Join Tom Kelly and the rest of the team each day on the morning grind. Then stay tuned for an encore presentation of last night's Landline Now. Weekdays on tncradio.live.
Hello and welcome to tncradio.live. This is Truckers Life Radio. And now here's your host, Ron Frazier.
Welcome to Truckers Life Radio on tncradio.live. You know, as we begin our program, we always tell you, and in fact, we try to encourage you to contact us at Truckers Life at tncradio.live. You can call us at 717-426-9977. And we definitely want you to know about our prayer line at 1-866-515-9406. Today on our program, we just have some of the most interesting people come on our program, and I'm really excited about today's. Today I have with us Billy Pucket, and Billy is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps, which many of you guys are, our listeners, both men and women. And so I think you'll find this interesting. He's been a professional driver for 33 years, and he is now hauling one of the most unique displays I think I have ever seen. And it's called Tunnel to Towers Foundation 911 Never Forget Mobile Exhibit. So, Bill, welcome to our program this evening. And
Thanks,
as we start out, I'd love for you to just tell us your story. Let us know who you are and a little bit about your background, how you got into trucking, and then how you got into driving this display.
Okay, well, after served 4 years in the Marine Corps, when I got out, I went to work at UPS, and I drove a delivery truck there at UPS for 3 years, and then a tractor and trailer for 23 years. And the whole time that I was working there, I was a volunteer fireman as well. So in 2012, I retired, and it seems like just yesterday that happened. But I started doing some various things. I had friends that were in the mobile marketing industry, and some had contacted me about doing, some driving for them, moving things around. And I did. I did some Ford racing for a couple of years. And then I had a real interesting thing come before me. The Aston Martin racing team came over, and they actually put their car hauler and their auxiliary trailer on a boat, floated them over. And I had a guy contact me about being their hauler driver. And while they were here in the United States, I transported 2 Aston Martin race cars all over the country for about 5 months, which was a really, really cool experience. Got to learn a lot from those guys. And then another good friend of mine works for Volvo Trucks in Greensboro, North Carolina. And he called me, and it was kind of interesting. He said, "I need you to send me a headshot." And I was like, "Well, what for?" And he just kept saying, "Don't worry about it. Just send it to me." So I did. And he called me back in about 2 hours, and he said, "I need you to be in Miami tomorrow, and I'm sending you a plane ticket and whole 9 yards." And I did 9 commercials for Volvo Trucks. And one of the highlights of that was on the 7 Mile Bridge down in Marathon. It was kind of cool. They closed the entire bridge for me to the filming across and back several times. Of course, the people on both ends were not very happy, that they closed the bridge, but it was really cool. And then toward the evening, sunset, filmed with a helicopter, and just a cool experience. And after I finished doing that project, I always like to stay busy. I don't like to sit around. It's just not my nature. And two friends of mine, they own a company in Winston-Salem, North Carolina called Specialized Mobile Exhibits. And I hadn't talked to them in quite a while. And so I called one of them and he said, what are you doing now? And I'm like, well, I'm retired. And I said, got something you would be perfect for. And Specialized Mobile Exhibits built the trailer that I have the honor to take across the country now for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. And flew in. I was living in Plano, Texas at the time, and flew in and saw it. And rest is history. I've been doing it ever since.
You look at the truck itself, and that is an amazing truck. And I'm sure, and I think I read somewhere, you draw a lot of attention when you're driving down the highway. And
Yeah,
so,
kind of a little bit.
what kind of attention are you drawing here, Bill?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I hope your listeners will go to our website t2t.org, and you can see pictures of the truck if you've never seen it. It's beautiful. American flags on both sides, and then on one side, the passenger side, there's a picture of the statue of Stephen Siller. Then on the left side, a picture from that dreadful day of two firemen trying to put out some of the ground fires that were there. And it's highly noticeable. You can't miss it unless you're just not paying attention. And of course, the truck, it was built by the Chrome Shop Mafia in Joplin, Missouri. So it kind of stands out a little bit. It's stretched, has a big generator on the back, lots and lots of polished aluminum. So when it's clean, it's really awesome. And people would pass me, and I couldn't figure out, like, the passenger would be on their phone, and I was like, well, how do you not see this truck? And now I come to understand why, because on the very back of the trailer, there's a big logo for the foundation, and this a big scene from the city of New York, and then the two blue lights that come up every year on 9/11, out of the where the two towers stood. And I was like, well, what are they doing? And finally, one day I was in a traffic jam, and I looked down, and this lady was on her phone looking up the website. So I was like, okay, maybe that's what they're doing. I have people that all the time I see in my mirror, they're filming as they pass me or taking pictures. And if I'm on a 3-lane highway, I'll move over just to make sure they'll pass me on the right so they can get a picture of the other side. I have highway patrolmen and city officers, county officers come up beside me and turn their lights on, just as a thank you for what you do. People, they'll roll down their windows and wave at me, give me a thumbs up. And, it's really, really cool. And I pull in truck stops to get fuel. And it happens almost every time. Somebody will say, wow, that's a really pretty truck. Well, thank you. And what are you hauling? And sometimes, I'll say, well, it's a rolling memorial. And then, I'll say, well, I got 343 passengers. And they'll look at me, and then I'll explain what the trailer is and what it's like when it's opened. And it's really cool. I was actually coming back from Salt Lake City a couple of years ago. And of course, I got a CB radio in the truck, and people talk to me. And one guy said, "Is that the 9/11 museum for Tunnel to Towers, or are you just advertising for the foundation?" I go, "No, this is actually the museum." And he said, "I have been wanting to see that forever." And he wanted to know where I was going to next. I told him, and lo and behold, him and his wife showed up. So it was really cool.
Bill, I came from part of my life history has been in EMS and fire, and I had friends who were at New York at 9/11, And so a tribute like this is an amazing thing, especially a tribute to all of those who lost their lives on September 11, 2001. And, I'm very appreciative of what I see and the exhibit itself. And I understand, I read somewhere that you said this is a fun job. And so I can see how that might be true, Bill.
It really is. I get to meet so many people, made so many lifelong friendships so far, and hopefully get a long, much longer time to do this. But the impact that you see on people's faces when they come in, and they see some of the relics that were found and some of the photos, and you see how moved they are. But then you also see how many people you help as well. So it gives you a real huge gratification, and just makes you appreciate what you get to do every day.
Hmm. I read too that you said, I'm making a difference in people's lives, even though I'm not making deliveries, and how true that is. And in fact, when we come back from break here, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Tunnel to Towers Foundation. We're going to talk about this mobile unit that you're driving. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Catch Landline Now every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, along with an encore presentation weekdays at noon, right here on tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. Many years ago, when I had no kids, no money, and no sense, I thought I wanted to make a difference. And I was persuaded to sign up for the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. They matched me with this 12-year-old guy, Fred, and they did so because I have a real keen interest in sports, and they said Fred was a little athlete too. They didn't tell me that all the sports that I loved he had no interest in, and vice versa. But we were paired. And Fred was challenging, and I was immature, and sometimes our visits didn't go very well. But I hung in there, and I recall the great Woody Allen saying that 88% of life is just showing up. Fred's mother said, please don't leave him. Just stay with him through his high school years. And so once a week, I would find time for Fred, and Fred would find time for me. And gradually, we started to grow on each other. And before he graduated, I won Big Brother of the Year, and he was the Little Brother of the Year. And then we went on a graduation from high school cruise together, which was really a lot of fun. And before long, Fred was my best man when I got married, and I was his best man when he got married. And both of our marriages failed, and we blamed each other. But here's the thing, Fred and I stuck with each other, and we went from matched brothers to brothers. And here we are now, some 37 years later. And Fred's 49 today. And he's my brother, and I love him, and he loves me. And I want to tell the world, sometimes you just have to stay with something. Sometimes you have to keep trying. You have to keep going back to rehab. You have to keep trying to quit smoking. You have to work harder in your relationship. You have to do more forgiving. You have to keep showing up. Happy birthday, Fred. I love you, brother.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
Welcome back to Truckers Life Radio on tncradio.live. I'm here with Billy Pucket. Billy is a truck driver. He is the driver for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation 911 Never Forget mobile exhibit. that comes across or goes across America. And so we want to talk to Billy a little more about that. Billy, you said, or I read earlier, and I think I shared with you that you said you like to think you're making a difference in people's lives. I'm sure you are, but how do you see that? What brings that to, what makes you think that way?
Well, for instance, some of the areas that I go to, the people will never have the opportunity to go to the city of New York to see the museum or see the memorials. And this exhibit brings a part of that tragic day, that historical day, to other parts of the country so people can see it. And, like I said before, they're patriotic people all across the country, and you see it in their faces when they walk in. And, we even go back to talking about the 1993 attack. And, people go, I remember that. Some people don't, but, most do. And then how it leads into what happened on September 11, 2001. But the impact that this brings is huge. I just got through doing a school down in Jupiter, Florida, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. And, of course, those kids weren't born. But when they came in, the look that I was watching them have, it was like, what's this all about? And, you start talking to them and they go, well, we know something about this. They do talk about it in school. They're one of the few states in Florida that they do require it in their curriculum. But then the questions they ask and, just want to know more and more about that day and the reason that it happened. I had one thing happen to me that I'll never ever forget. The exhibit is, we have it broken up into three rooms. We have, as you come in, it's about the construction of the towers, about the tragic happenings of that day. You go over to the next side, it's about rescue, recovery, cleanup. And then when you come up into the back, it's all about the foundation. And that's where I'm usually stationed. And this young girl was about 8 years old. And I felt somebody tugging on my shirt, and I turned around, and so I got down on one knee. And I'll never forget her. She had on a little flowery dress and pigtails, and her mother said, she has a couple of questions for you. Absolutely. She said, why do these people do this? And I'm a firm believer that there's a higher power, and that higher power puts into your mind, into your mouth, what you need to say at those particular times. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, honey, it's like this. When you got up this morning, you got to choose your little dress, didn't you? She goes, yes, sir. And I said, at breakfast, did you tell your mommy what you wanted to eat? She said, yes, sir. I said, you have to understand, in other parts of the world, there are children your age who do not have the opportunity for those choices. They're told what they're going to wear, what they're going to eat, what they're going to study. And those people do not like our freedoms. And that's why they try to destroy us that day. And she looked at me and said, okay. She said, I have one more question. She said, did they go to heaven? And I said, honey, they went to their heaven. They didn't go to ours. And she said, is there a difference? And I said, yes, it is. And she just looked at me and she said, okay, can I give you a hug? Absolutely. I had to walk out and walk around behind the trailer because I had tears running. I mean, just running down my face, and thinking how innocent this little girl was. But she had two of the most important questions that anybody could ask. And when you have situations like that, you know without a doubt you're doing the right thing.
Billy, when you talk about young children like that, and I think I read somewhere about a young guy by the name of Zach, kind of a history buff. He was interested in the exhibit. We have such an opportunity to teach people about the goodness of God in the midst of a disaster. And this, I lost friends that day. But, it's just a reminder to me that how good these guys are, how loving they were to their families, and how they love God. And yet they went into that battle. That was their battle. That tower was their battle, both those towers. And so, it's encouraging. I think one of the things I read about the Tower Foundation is that they're committed to ensuring we never forget about 911. That's my prayer, that we don't forget it. It happened for a purpose. Nothing happens by accident. And, but we can do a lot to educate people about what that was all about, and, what God's doing in the world.
Absolutely. And one of my statements that I frequently make, that out of tragedy that you have in your life, it may not be the next day, week, month, year, but at some point in time in your life, something good will come out of a tragedy. And out of that dreadful day came this foundation. And when you said, never forget, they're that's inscribed on both sides of the trailer. Never forget. And, some people have forgotten. And I've had people tell me, really, you're still talking about that day? And well, wait a minute. It's history. That's a part that's the single largest loss of life day we've ever had in the United States of America. But it's also the largest rescue that's ever happened as well. And it's just ironic they're both on the same day. And I even made a comment to a teacher one time that I had another teacher in another state tell me that this was not our children's history. And I beg to differ, because this is no different than Pearl Harbor, World War I, II, Korean War, Vietnam War. This is a tragic day that happened on our soil. And I'm just of the firm belief that every American should know about that day and never, ever forget it.
It's been said we so easily forget, and I'm thankful for the trailer, and I'm thankful for the reminder that it brings to our country, that this wasn't just a single forgetful event, but it changed the course of our country. It changed the course of the world. And when I get up and when I spend some time with my wife in prayer, I'm always reminded of the gift of life and how precious that is, and how so many of our men sacrificed their lives, that we might have this freedom. And I think there was something like, and you can correct me, but 300 and some members of the New York City Fire Department who made that ultimate sacrifice. And there are still those who are continuing to lose their lives just because of the sickness of having been there and the contamination. I don't think people realize this is an ongoing event. This didn't end that day.
No, it did not. We lost 343 firemen that day. We have lost 320 since that day from all kind of illnesses, cancers that nobody's ever heard of. Back in 17 to 18, there were so many new cancers discovered that they didn't even give them a name. They just gave them a number because they were all incurable cancers. 23 NYPD officers, and NYPD has lost over 400 officers since that day. The Port Authority lost 37. They've lost 13 since that day. But that doesn't count the civilians or the iron workers, the steel workers, the electricians, the excavator operators, dump truck drivers. I know in Iowa they sent 4 corners to assist. They were all at Stanton Island. They never were at Ground Zero, and all 4 passed away with cancer.
Yeah, I know that just the effect of the dust coming off of this tragic event had a great effect on moms, dads, children. It traveled a long ways. And so, again, we're still seeing the ramifications of that. Bill, when we come back, and I want our listeners to stay tuned, we're going to talk about the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, the tour, and where you've been, where are you going next, and how can people come and see this? How can they be a part of it? So stay tuned, and we will be right back.
There are many different job boards for truckers. Why use the job board on thetrucker.com? There's several reasons. Thetrucker.com's objective is to help professional truck drivers find quality truck driving jobs and to help trucking companies find quality truck drivers. Thetrucker.com has the most comprehensive listing of truck driving jobs and job resources, and new and existing job listings are updated regularly. Thetrucker.com's job search function is easy to use and allows job seekers to search for jobs by driver type, trailer type, route type, location, company, endorsement, and experience requirements. Our proprietary application processing system, or APS, uses a sophisticated algorithm to match and automatically send qualified driver applications to the trucking company in real time. So your job application is efficiently processed and submitted to the trucking company immediately after the APS matches your qualifications to the job requirements. When it's time to consider making a change, you can find the right resources at thetrucker.com.
Do you have the TNCRadio.live app? It's free and easy to download. Just go to app.tncradio.live, Google Play, or the App Store. Get access to live streaming radio developed by drivers for drivers. Download the TNCRadio.live app today.
Welcome to Truckers Life Radio on TNCRadio.live. We're here with Bill Pucket. Bill is the driver for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation's exhibit, the 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit. And we've been talking a little bit about that, about Bill and his history. We've been talking about how the exhibit has had some real impacts on the lives of people who have seen it, and how it's helped to educate our young people who never experienced any of this. So, Bill, we want to pick it up there, but I want you to share with us, how did this come into play? I mean, how did this become a reality? Who had the brainchild to, or the idea to create a Tunnel to Towers exhibit? And what were some of the struggles, some of the issues to put this together? I'm sure it was not easy. I'm sure there is a lot of material, physical material in the exhibit itself that had to be collected. What can you tell us?
Well, the exhibit started in September 11th, 2013. Of course, the foundation got its start in 2002. And, I guess just wanted to educate our youth. That's why this exhibit was first built, to, go to schools and give our youth a firsthand experience or look at the tragedy from that day. So John Hodge was a gentleman at the foundation at the time. He contacted Specialized Mobile Exhibits about a rolling memorial. And of course, how things are, go back and forth, and, how big do you want, what you want, and different things. And there are many, many renderings, of in the beginning of how they wanted things. And then, some things wouldn't work, and, you had to change. But It took, I guess it was about 6 months because the trailer was already built. So that was huge to already have that aspect. And, it's almost 1,100 square feet inside when it's open. So, there's a lot of space. And then just to lay it out. And like I said earlier, when you first come in, it's about the construction of the towers and then the 93 attack. And in that first little area, there are some things that were found in the rubble, some glass, marble, tile. I have a golf ball. It's really neat. It's flat, completely flat on one side. And evidently it was in somebody's desk or on their desk or something of that nature. And have some coins in there now, really, really cool. They were in a safe deposit box in the South Tower. And the way you see them in our case are exactly the way they were found. You can see that they've gotten so hot that they've started kind of bending. And trying to lay that out to where it has flow to it. And then time stamped of the 93 attack up through all the times from that tragic day. Then some other things that, display cases. You just had to find things that would fit. And because, it's got to go down the road as well. It's neat when it's set up and everything in its place, but you got to pack it up. And, you only got 8 feet of space. And I actually have a little less than that with the swing walls that come in. They take up about 1.5 feet of space. So, you're limited to what you have as far as being able to transport things. So getting all that figured out. And once it did, over the years, we've changed it. And of course, personnel has changed over the years. I have a new lady now that is my boss at the foundation. Jackie is fantastic. She does all the bookings for the exhibit, and we go all over the country. This year, I'm actually adding Arkansas to our list, so that'll be 38 states that we have been in so far. And the goal is, of course, to be in all 50. And, we'll see. We're definitely trying to make that happen. But, Jackie does all the scheduling. And, of course, she tries to have some type of routing. Sometimes it's difficult. I know in 2019, I went back and forth to California twice. And which was kind of cool. You see in the country, and I always, go a different way than I have before just to see something different. And, but that was basically the struggles. And after it all got put together, as anything, once you do it a few times, you see what really works, what doesn't work. And, you change and make things a little easier and make it a little better and a little more information as you go, and it just works.
I understand that I don't know if this is often or the normality, but you get volunteers that help at setting this thing up. I take it some are firemen, fire departments, and other different types of groups. Who are some of the people that come alongside you when you're trying to set up?
Well, setting up and packing up, whoever brings us in. For example, when I went down to Jupiter High School just a few weeks ago, they had some of their custodians and coaches. They helped me set up. But then when I got ready to pack up, they had their ROTC kids, and that was the most fun. Those kids were so eager to help and, taught them how to use a drill and taught them how to wrap things with a blanket, things they've never done before. And it was really cool. But yeah, I get a lot of volunteer firemen. Sometimes, I get full-time firemen. But everywhere I go, every stop I have, there will be at least 2 and up to 4 retired FDNY firefighters who will fly in and join me. And then we give the tours throughout the exhibit of course, they tell their stories. And, when people hear from those guys, because they said, well, some of them, people are very skeptical. They'll look and say, well, were you there that day? Well, yeah, I did. I responded, and this is where I was. And then that's a game changer, because then people are wanting to know more, and then they're so appreciative and thank you for your service. And, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. As you travel across the country, I'm sure you see some unique situations, and taking a mobile unit like this, I'm sure you've taken into some tight places as well. But are the locations you go to, are they strictly schools, or are they other types of events?
Oh, they're everything. Town festivals, fairs, VFWs, Rotary clubs, of course, schools again. I've been to NASCAR races. I've been to NFL football games. We're talking about maybe doing some spring training baseball if we can kind of work that in this year. But I usually have somewhere between 35 and 40 stops a year, depending on length. Now, I have some that are like 2 days. I got one day this year, which is, we're just fitting these people in because they have been wanting it for so many years. And I'm actually going to be pretty close to them, and I can make, a 1 day stop work. And so we're actually going to be able to do that. But, I have some that are 12 to 15 days, just depending on what it is. I always do the Frontier Days in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and that's 12 days. And so, it just depends on the length as to how many stops I can get in a year. We used to do start in April and would finish, 1st of November. But the way things have expanded over the years, like I say, I was in Florida the entire month of January, just about. And we got a month to refurbish and do some repair work and things to it. And then to be hitting the road in March. But people, if you want to know where I'm going to be, you can go to T2T, that's the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. And on our website, if you'll go to the top right-hand corner, there's a drop-down menu, and go to the 9/11 Education Institute. And that's where we're located. And you can follow me all over the country.
So where do you call home, Bill?
I'm actually back in North Carolina. My dad unfortunately passed away in 20, and I moved back from Texas toward the end of 18 when I finished up that year to, just be close. And, way things happened, COVID, happened in 20. We weren't on the road. So I got to spend the last remaining days with my dad, which was really neat.
Well, you spend a lot of time traveling, and bless your heart, that's got to be tiring, but there doesn't sound like there's any exhaustion in your voice. All I hear is the joy of doing the work you're doing. So when we come back, we're going to let our listeners have some idea how they can be part of that. They can share that joy, or they can share that learning experience. So if you're listening in, stay tuned, and we'll get you some information you might want to know about. We'll be right back.
Hey, y'all, this is Curtis Grimes, and I want to give a shout out and a special thank you to everyone associated with TNCRadio.live.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
We're all about the news, information, entertainment, talk radio, music, comedy, and topics truckers want to hear. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kelly. We're talking with retired NASA engineer Homer Hickam, who's the author of Rocket Boys, which inspired the movie October Sky. We're talking with Alex Debogorski. He's one of the original stars of Ice Road Truckers. Chip Davis of Mannheim Steamroller. Music icon and Grammy Award-winning country artist Lee Greenwood. We're speaking with racing legend Mario Andretti. Michael Martin Murphey is a legend on the music scene with wonderful ballads and hits like Wildfire and Cowboy Logic. Curtis Grimes.
Michael McDowell, the 2021 Daytona 500 winner.
Our guest this afternoon is Tom Bodette. You know the name, you know the voice.
The Carolina Monkey Gouger, Jimmy Artis. Today we have the honor of speaking again with Long Haul Paul. Today we have Claire Dunn and Logan Mize with us.
Stay tuned and stay safe with TNCRadio.live.
Hey, welcome back to Truckers Life Radio on TNCRadio.live. I'm Ron Frazier, your host. I'm here with Bill Pucket. Bill, as we've been talking, is the driver for Tunnel Towers Foundation mobile exhibit, which is the 911 Never Forget exhibit, and something that truly touches my heart. And as we've been talking, I'm sure it's touching your heart as well. And so what I want to do now is I want to ask Bill to share with you, our listeners, how you can get involved with this organization, how you can reach out to help for this organization, because I'm sure some of you have experienced the 911 tragedy personally, and there's things that you would like to know about. I'm also sure that there are some of you who want to know how they might be able to bring a tour to their region. And so I've asked Bill to share some of these things with you and some of the needs that the organization or Bill himself may have as he travels across the country. So Bill, share with our listeners what they can do to be part of this amazing exhibit that has changed and touched so many lives.
The first thing that I'd like people to understand is what we actually do as a foundation. We build computerized homes for catastrophically injured servicemen and women. These are men and women who've been to Iraq and Afghanistan that have come back home to us, missing arms and legs. And we build them special adaptive homes that operate from an iPad to make their life 100% independent and easy and get them back into life. Gold Star Families, which is a family that has lost a loved one in Iraq and Afghanistan, and many already own a home. If they do, we pay their mortgage off. If they don't, then we build them a home. And the really cool part about both of those groups that we build homes for is they choose the location and they choose what floor plan they want. Any first responder that loses their life in the line of duty, we pay off their mortgage, and that's all across the United States. And a year ago, this past December, we started our homeless veterans program. And in 2022, we did 500 homes for homeless veterans. And this year, we're doing 2,000. And that's on top of everything else that we do as well. And if you want to be a part of something so spectacular, just go to t2t.org. That's the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. And that's our website. You can see everything we do. If you would like to be a part of this exhibit and bring it to your area, go to the 9/11 Education Institute. And if you click on that, you'll see the 9/11 mobile exhibit. And if you click on that, it'll take you right to Jackie Eaton, who is the scheduler and my boss at the foundation. And she will contact you and get it all set up. And, the other thing I want the listeners to understand is for every dollar the foundation collects, 95 cents of that dollar goes toward those programs that I mentioned earlier. We have one program, it's the $11 a month program. We ask people to donate $11 a month to help what we're doing to help our veterans. And I'll be honest with you, and I tell this story often, I had a hard time talking about that because I never ask anybody to donate. That's your choice of who you want to donate to. And of course, I hope you help the foundation. But I had a 90-year-old gentleman in Iowa. He said, son, every morning I go to McDonald's and I have 2 biscuits and a cup of coffee. it's $10.48. I'm going to stay home one morning a month and eat a bowl of cereal. You're going to get $11 from me. And I thought, geez, it's that easy. And so I started talking about it. And it's amazing the response that the foundation has received from that program, and the outreach that it has gone out, and people have said, yes, I want to help. I want to be a part of it. We're always looking for volunteers. There's a volunteer section on the website as well. And you can volunteer to help build a home. If I'm going to be in a location close to you, come help me set up. And the cool part about people who help me set up and pack up, I always have free gifts for you.
Bill, tell us where are you headed next? I know they can see the schedule on the website, but tell us where you're off to.
Right now, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. I'll be there April 13th through the 16th. And this is just how it rolls. Then straight to Rome, New York, Florence, Kentucky, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Clearwater, Florida, 2 stops in Clearwater, Florida, back up to Lyme, Connecticut, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Illinois, Minnesota, Fort Jennings, Ohio, Quincy, Massachusetts, New York. Then starting October 9th, we haven't done this in a few years, but I have a whole tour set up in California, Marietta, and then I'll be at the Desert Empire Fair in California the week after that, and then Yuma, Arizona, and then back to San Diego for Veterans Day. So, full schedule, and it's awesome. And you said earlier, exhausting. I get tired. I do. But, when you see the people that you help, and you see the people, how inspired they are when they come into the exhibit, and the things they see, the questions they ask, it just charges me right back up. And I can't think of anything else at this point in my life that I'd ever want to do. On one of our videos on our website, I make the statement, other than the day that my son and my daughter were born, this is the greatest thing I've ever been a part of.
Bill, I know that this coming March 2023, we're going to be taking the Trucker's Final Mile truck to MATS, which is the Mid-America Truck Show. Will we perchance see your exhibit at the Mid-America Truck Show this year?
Well, we have inquired about going, and there have been looking for space. So we'll see how that plays out. One thing we're working on that may happen is the Iowa 80 Jamboree they have in July. There's a nice possibility may be there. Of course, I got to clean my truck up because I want to be in the show as well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. I didn't ask you when you're coming to Pennsylvania or where you're going to be, but I definitely am going to keep my eyes open for the next time you come through our state here in Pennsylvania. I've got a bunch of grandsons and maybe a couple granddaughters that would love to see this exhibit, and so I'll check it out and round them up, and if I can do it, I'll get them out to see this exhibit. And I challenge all of our listeners. This is I won't say once in a lifetime, because you come through multiple times, but if you have this opportunity to see this exhibit, you need to take the time to be there. This isn't just a entertaining thing. This is an educational thing that all of us, both young and old, need to be aware of and reminded of on a daily basis. Bill, it's been good to have you with us, and it's been good to hear the story. And And, we as an organization, a Christian organization, will be praying for you as you go across the country representing this fine organization. And, we'll be praying for others who come alongside you to do the work. And we're thankful for Tunnel Towers Foundation and the work they're doing for our veterans. That is just so exciting for them to be out there to pay off the mortgages and to build these homes. Again, I challenge our listeners, be proactive. There's people out there that need you, whether you've got a lot of talent or you've got a little bit of talent. And we say in our organization, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. You may not have a lot of talent, but you have something to give. And so we challenge you to do that. Bill, it's been a pleasure having you on the radio program tonight. Lord bless you as you go about this journey. And hopefully I'll get to meet you face to face somewhere along your travel here.
That sounds awesome. And, as I travel the country, your listeners, they see me. Please stop and say hello, blow your horn, wave at me, just anything. You don't realize how much that does for me. And it just brightens up every day.
Hmm. Well, that just about concludes our program. But again, I want to remind you that if you want to contact us, you can contact us at truckerslife@tncradio.live. That's truckerslife@tncradio.live. If you've got a question about anything that you have heard on this program tonight, we encourage you to call us. And so until we meet again, stay safe, and we will talk to you at the next show.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Let us hear from you. Send email to truckerslife@tncradio.live. Stay tuned.